Hey everyone, before I get started, I just want to remind you that if you like my content, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and then join the Militiaman and Crew Patreon community by clicking the link in the caption. Hey, good afternoon everybody. It's Sunday afternoon. I hope everybody's having a cool one because I know that the country's experiencing some heat waves, and I know that it's going to be getting significantly warmer where I am. Not like it gets down in the south and not as humid, but nonetheless, when it's over 105, it's hot for me. So, hey, the Prime Minister, as his advisors come out again, and this weekend, he was in the news about, I think it's been about 3 or 4 days ago. Soleil has been very vocal about many things, but it's been about Iraq's exchange rate, inflation, their reserves. His positivity, his tone has been really very well accepted because he's done it. I think this is the fourth one, but this is just some of the issues that he talks about. But I remember Iraq, and the reason why there's positivity is because if we go back in a little bit of a history, which we like to do here sometimes, I know that not everybody's big on that, but it does give you some guidance of where we have been in the past and what has been transpiring, so that you in your investment can feel grounded and solid in that. That might be a little bit boring to some and not really hypey and all that, but the truth is it's powerful to know that the progress that Iraq has made, it seems like it's taking forever and everybody's overdone with it, of course, but hey, the bottom line is if you really look at it in the perspective of what is different in the last year and a half since al-Sudani arrived, it's amazing, it's immense, and the totality of it is it should have everybody pretty pumped. So that's the exciting part. That isn't boring to me because I see that it is light at the end of the tunnel. It says here that the Mahar Mohammed Saleh confirmed Saturday that zeroing out debts to the International Monetary Fund reflects high and solid creditworthiness for the country of Iraq. And it's probably going to just get better because basically what they're telling us is that they've entered into about 5 different programs with the International Monetary Fund since about 2004. And up until the end of 2018, they included 3 different credit readiness programs. Basically what they're saying is Iraq has paid off the loans that were withdrawn during the last 20 years according to regular payment mechanisms. So that's a good thing when it comes to credit rating. I think everybody knows that. And they're zeroing out those accounts, or if any are left over, it's possible that they're actually zeroed out, they say today, which was yesterday, which reflects the high and solid creditworthiness of the Republic of Iraq in repayment before the international financial community in particular and towards multilateral international financial organizations in general. So he stresses that the cooperation relations continue between Iraq and the International Monetary Fund in various fields, including providing technical advice and supporting economic policies. Not unlike the World Bank, for instance. They're talking about the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank are basically working in conjunction with Iraq in the various fields with technical advice and economic policies. So ultimately what I think it is that it looks like financial situation is solid for Iraq. She's come into many revenue streams that are coming on board now with the non-oil, all the natural resources outside of oil, and I believe that's only going to get better. The IQD system is ready to go as far as that's concerned. They've already been using it, but they said this weekend it was about 100% complete in the first phase, which is probably all the regional borders are probably set up now to be able to do electronic analyzation and collecting of monies and things of that nature. So anyway, the World Bank and the IMF, the U.S. Treasury, I wouldn't be surprised if they all know that. I wouldn't be surprised if the WTO is aware of that. There's a meeting coming up on the 18th, working group, I believe it is, for the accession, and that's going to be ongoing, so we'll see how that works out and plays out. We know that Saudi Arabia spent a lot of time and effort helping Iraq get to where they are, and then back in March they already said that there was going to be imminent, and then I'm not sure if it was in March or May, but they did say that they had completed all the things that were set out for them to be able to have a session, so keep that in mind, it's coming. But here's a snippet that dates back a little while. The Iraqi central governor reveals the plan to reform the banking system and talks about sanctions. So this is al-Alaq, I'm assuming. It says basically that the United States of America is broad and large, and its Iraq financial system must be protected, as well as the system in America. So they're leaning on Iraq's financial system. So when Saleh says that they have all these reserves, then these are the quotes that would support that he has reason to be positive. He says, what does it all include? Their goals were basically included the presence of broad plans and programs, relying on international consultations and contracting with major offices specialized in the fields, which the central bank is organizing these matters in order to achieve this great goal. They're going on to say, which gives positive messages to financial institutions all over the world. So there's one, and it says this one here is another snippet, Al-Azargawi. He talks about activating the provisions of a strategic agreement that concerns 7 vital important sectors. It says, especially since the United States is a strategic partner, and we need the relationships into it to be growing and expanded. We hope to seek the effects and results of this important visit in the near future in the service of our beloved country, restoring confidence to strengthening partnerships with the countries of the world. Right? Iraq is telling everybody today they're positive, low inflation, heavy reserves, over the amount of their own currency. Exchange rate. They have enough to support what they have, and especially when they delete the zeros, they'll have the ability to maintain and defend their currencies, from what I understand. An upcoming meeting between the Central Bank of Iraq and the U.S. Treasury. This is back in September of last year, and basically what did they say? It says Iraq's Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Saudati informed the U.S. Treasury Undersecretary the expansion of the government's work in reducing money laundering operations, while they are going to be setting the stage for what? Confidence of global financial institutions to be restored. So the confidence to be restored. So you got to see that when a Saleh comes out and talks about that stuff this weekend and this last week, take it serious, because I think basically the world is. I think that's a big deal, because if he's going to restore confidence to the world, they're reiterating it again. That was September of 2023. Now here we are moving into the late summer, going almost into September again, and they're still reiterating the fact that they're still working on that to do it. This article here says, the Iraqi private sector improving investment environment in the National Development Plan for 24 to 28. Look, Samir al-Nusri, he's another, Saleh's big, Nusri, these guys are all advisors to the government and to al-Sudani. So when they talk, they mean business. So ultimately, what is this? This is a report. In the first paragraph, it says, over the past 3 months, the Ministry of Planning and the specialized work teams have made efforts to prepare the National Development Plan for 2024 through 2028, the draft of which addressed in detail the main challenges facing the Iraqi private sector and the main objectives aimed at achieving the effective contribution, improving the investment environment. So that's what they're basically doing for Iraq. There's 9 bullet points here, but they do have a vision for all the way out to 2030. They're basically stating that this is going to require providing a legislative environment and a stable business environment, and focusing on the axes that aim to build sound preliminaries for the transition to a complete economic reform. I like that part because it's a complete economic reform. But what do we have here? They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different components, and you can find this in patreon.com. I suggest you guys read those components, and then you're going to realize that, wow, these guys have already done all this stuff, and this is their plan. This is what they're talking about. So basically, this particular article has a bunch of stuff on it. I know it's kind of highlighted and muddled up, but the truth is those 9 bullet points are key components that are obvious. It's an outline for the emergence of Iraq going into a market economy, because they have been working on an oil-ran economy. Now they're going to be going into the private sector and have a symbiotic relationship with the public and private sector, and that's what they're doing. They have systems in place. We talked about the IQD system. We have the e-government. We have the e-commerce. We have all of that stuff is in place, and you guys will see that in the news of recent and as early as even today. Parliamentary finance. It says oil companies' dues added to the budget tables, government coordination to resume exports. So these guys are talking about resuming oil exports out of the Kurdistan region. They've held up, and you're going to find out in one of my articles here today that they have lost billions of dollars of revenues because they haven't turned on the oil. I do believe that we're going to see that there's some good news on that front. It says the Parliamentary Finance Committee confirmed the continuation of coordination and communication between the federal government and the Kurdistan region to resume oil exports through the Turkish port of Ceyhan. The vice chairman of the committee, his last name is Delami, stated in his statement to the news agency that the general budget tables approved by the Council of Representatives are ones adopted by the government, thus canceling any financial texts and paragraphs mentioned outside of it. And they go on to say, well, if an agreement is reached, the federal, that part right there, if an agreement is reached between the federal government and the region to resume oil exports, the Federal Ministry of Finance and Ministry of Oil and Natural Resources in the region will proceed to coordinate to find a mechanism to disperse those amounts and pay the dues of oil companies. So there's going to be paying dues to oil companies. Just pay close attention, because I'm pretty sure I'm going to show you guys that there's some good news on the road. She goes on to explain that the oil companies operating in the Kurdistan region, they had requests for 6 months amounts of their contracts and signed between the two parties that are difficult to cancel. So they're having some troubles, and they know that they have some buying power, bargaining chip power there that they need to take advantage of, because they're giant foreign companies. And they'll resort to the judiciary and sue the region and the federal government if they don't act upon it properly. That they'll be tied up in court, and I don't think that's in Iraq's best interest. So cutting the deal is probably pretty much what you're going to find that they do or will be doing. Al-Sudani, has been working with many different people on different angles. He met with the Kurdistan region, Barzani, the lead senior man, and he hadn't been to Baghdad in 6 years, so we know about that is awesome, okay? It says the President Barzani's visit to Baghdad, it said dotted the I's and crossed the T's. Based on a broad awareness, the current sensitive, dangerous, complex period that Iraq and the region are going through requires reliance on courage and wisdom and dialogue, understanding, and shortening distances, emphasizing the preference of the Constitution in resolving problems and pending issues. So it's President Massoud Barzani visited Baghdad for those 2 days. It says the days were full of important meetings and dialogues with senior officials. And they go on talking about the fate of the country and so many different circumstances, paradoxes, intersections, all these different things that arise every day. But they basically go through it and state that the visit basically will be described as an important one, historic, exceptional, and necessary. They go on, say, for the wise people who know the weight of the president. So they're telling people that are wise and understand President Barzani, this particular gentleman, as his position and his ability to influence the political process and Iraqi politicians in general, and who realize Iraq's need for a neutral national shepherd who possesses knowledge and understanding, carries political intelligence and a high level of human thought, and adopts values and principles as a system for his leadership, political and national work. They praised his sovereignty and his great capabilities in directing matters and restoring confidence among the Iraqis in general. So in other words, Al-Sudani is going to bring confidence to the world, and obviously this gentleman here now is also talking about restoring confidence among the Iraqis in general. That's the Sunnis and the Shia and the Christians. That means all Iraqis. It's pretty big. So it's a well-written piece. It's called President Barzani's Visit to Baghdad, Dotted the I's and Crossed the T's. I highly recommend everybody read it. It's a good one, and it's restoring confidence among the Iraqis in general. That's fascinating. And then this one here is interesting too. It's Kurdistan loses approach to $13 billion to halt its oil exports. So they lost $13 billion. For some reason, I got a strong feeling it was a little bit more than that. But this is what they're saying. I'll go with it. It says here, this was Sunday, July 7th. Basically, Iraq has been not pumping. They have somewhat of a deal between 375,000 barrels a day, and then the Baghdad has about 75,000. So the total of about 450,000 barrels a day has been shut off to go out through that port. And so if you do the math, I think at whatever the average pricing is that they're talking about $13 billion, which is basically a very large amount, and it harmed the Iraqi state and the budget in general, since that export oil becomes into the hands of the federal government, and it didn't. So basically what had happened is Turkey had earlier halted Iraq's exports of 450,000 barrels per day via the oil pipeline that runs from the Kurdistan region in the northern Iraq to the Turkish port of Ceyhan on March 25th, 2023. This is the part that I really want you guys to focus in on. Its attempts to restart the pipeline have been delayed by Turkey's presidential election last month, and discussions between the Iraqi government, state oil marketing company SOMO and the Kurdistan regional government over an export deal that has now been reached. I'll read that again. It says the discussions between the government state of oil marketing company SOMO and the Kurdistan regional government over an export deal that has now been reached. That was today. So that's big. So, and who helped facilitate that? Barzani. I'm sure he came in, and that's what his expertise is, to be able to bring people together. He's kind of like that neutral shepherd they talked about. Pretty cool. So ultimately, there are open arbitration cases also that they want permanently resolved before it agrees to resume the flows. And so they have a deal, but some of that is the additional arbitration cases. They want them closed out. You guys got to remember that Turkey has a water card, and he's probably going to play that card, Erdogan. So what is it good? It's really good. If they've reached a deal, that means that would probably benefit the HCL. People have talked about the oil and gas, and then if the oil is going to flow, they're going to have evaluations for the assets to do that. And so a lot of things, salaries, lots of different things. They had audits that were supposed to be done that over this weekend, and that may last up to 10 days. I never did say that it was a smoking gun, but I did find it interesting that 10 days, what I mentioned in the article, was to get them out to about the 17th, which is the day or so before the working group of the WTO. I just said it was interesting, that's all. Whether that is a necessity for Al-Alaq to make a decision to be able to do what Saleh says, support the value of their currency, do what al-Sudani had said, is get the dinar stronger than the dollar at some point in time, which when they say going to 1 to 1.32 dinars to the dollar, basically that is a reciprocal of dropping the 3 zeros that Al-Alaq talked about, that the deletion of the zeros project is still in play. So keep all that in mind. It says here, al-Sudani's advisor comments on the fluctuation of the dollar price. It does not suit the strength of Iraq's foreign reserves. So Saleh is basically telling you that a fixed exchange rate system in Iraq is based on international reserves, which is the highest in the history of Iraq, and its monetary policy as foreign currency covers a percentage of more than 100% of the total currency currently issued. So inflation's low. It's not to exceed 3%. They talk about the official exchange rate being at 13.20. So if you guys do the math on this kind of stuff, you're going to realize that what I just said a minute ago, it's basically al-Sudani and Al-Alaq saying the same thing, in just speaking in different terms of the equation math. All right, but they're saying the same thing effectively. So ultimately, what do they have? They have an exchange rate that is real and it's solid in its stability. And why is that important is because if they do adjust the currency to drop the 3 zeros, they have a huge amount of reserves. They have gold, they have the new oil, non-oil revenues, all that stuff that we've talked about. So anyway, it says the irregular secondary market, due to the freedom of external transfer, is under the influence of the official exchange market rate, whose operations are constantly expanding in favor of dealing with the fixed official exchange rate. So they're giving success to the fixed rate. If you remember what we talked about, Soleil has been a big proponent of a mix between a fixed and a floating exchange rate. And so that mix would probably be the best. And I think they've talked about that before. The Investment Authority, the Singapore Agreement, we all know that they've talked about this, and this is where they give sovereign guarantees, and the agreement will accelerate Iraq's international credit rating effectively. And they go on to say the investment classification of emerging countries in 2024, conducted by this FDI intelligence, ranked Iraq fourth, indicating the confidence, there's that word again, providing by the investment in Iraq, specifically the National Investment Commission, in providing safe legislative environment for the investor in order to settle in Iraq and return large capital to implement infrastructure projects and achieve sustainable development. It goes on to say that the Singapore Agreement will accelerate and speed up the increase in Iraq's international ratings, which is a sovereign rating for the whole world. And thus Iraq's rating will be known when it is a good one. So he's pointing out that all investors in the world will come without any restrictions or conditions as long as the legislative environment exists, which it does, and governs their work in Iraq, and thus the process of attracting money to enter it will proceed easily and smoothly. So everybody's bullish and positive, and I think Iraq ranked fourth is probably a big deal. It's a safe legislative environment, a sovereign rating for the whole world. That, you know, that's just, it's a big deal, everyone. It's pretty big. And there again, this is that article that I mentioned, to audit salaries. It's expected to visit by the Financial Supervision Bureau to the Kurdistan region. And again, I think everybody should be able to pay attention and read for themselves this little article. And it basically does say that they're going to do an audit on the salaries. It doesn't say all the salaries. It just says that there are salaries that the Kurdistan region put up, and this isn't uncommon. But another thing is, though, they've already had numerous audits, so I'm not so sure that this article holds a lot of weight. But the fact remains is I found it interesting, and this is that one that we talked about. So it just mentions that they could have an audit done within 10 days. So, hey, thanks everybody for being with me on Sunday. I appreciate it. If you like the content, smash the like button and subscribe. I always appreciate it. And by the way, all of you guys that have been stepping up to the plate and helping with those small donations and or even large, it goes a long way. And Zelle, PayPal, and Venmo are those places that you've all used and were easy and convenient. So I thank you very much. Appreciate it. We'll see you soon. Once again, guys, don't forget to hit that like button if you like this content, subscribe to the channel, or join us at the Militia Man and Crew Patreon community for even more exclusive content. You can also donate to this channel by hitting the links in the banner to help keep this page up and running. Your generous support is greatly appreciated, as always. Much, much appreciated. Thank you so much and have a great day.